taking a little trip today to our local city, which is kind of the closest city to where we live, which is Chester. And we're going to do a walk of the walls. Starting, which wall are we on now? Northgate. So on the Northgate part of the walls.
We're literally standing on the top of Northgate at the moment.
Yeah, so we're on Northgate, which is one of the old kind of Roman/medieval gates into the city. Behind us is one of the main streets in Chester leading down to the town hall. And if we spin around that way, we'll see where we're from. In the distance, in the hilly bit, which is Wales. So just as we leave the Northgate, we're walking towards Chester Cathedral along the walls with the canal at the bottom there. And just below there is one of the only bits of the walls where you can actually see the Roman original walls beneath the medieval walls. And just down to the right there's a little court called Rufus Court, which has a lot of restaurants and bars. These grounds here, these belong to the cathedral, which you can just see in the distance. We'll get closer to shortly because the walls wrap round and go past the cathedral. And then the first tower that we come to, there are quite a few towers dotted around on the walls as we walk around, which are mainly medieval. A lot of people think the walls are actually Roman, but the bottom of the walls is Roman, but the majority of the walls is actually medieval. And this is, I believe, King Charles Tower.
Or we know it locally as the Phoenix Tower, which was once home to the Painters and Decorators Guild. Fun fact.
Most iconic towers on city walls. Also, the grounds in the cathedral is where they have the Moonlight Flicks, which are outdoor cinema that they do during the summer, where they show a variety of films, and it's all outdoors. Quite a few stunning buildings in Chester as well, obviously. It's been a walled city. A lot of the buildings date back hundreds, if not thousands of years. So the origins of Chester itself and the walled city date back to the Roman times, where it was used as a fortress. And the kind of Roman name for Chester is Diva. And I believe the fortress was called Diva Victrix. Was it there? And the original walls kind of mark out the actual original shape of the fortress that used to be here. So where the cathedral is, they have a range of kind of art events in the grounds quite often. Not sure what the one is at the moment, but it looks like there's Noah's Ark. And just through the trees in the background is obviously the old bit of the cathedral off to the left. And then just through to the right there is the newer bit of the cathedral. This is obviously the original bit to the cathedral. I'm not sure how far it dates back, but it's a pretty substantial cathedral. If you ever get a chance to visit Chester, it's worth going into the cathedral because it is an awesome looking building. Still in the grounds of the cathedral, there's a bit of a garden. And then to the left, you've got one of the bell towers to the cathedral. It's obviously a more modern building, but it houses the cathedral bells, which you can hear chime. And as we go down this way, we approach the Eastgate clock, which is probably one of the most famous clocks. Well, it's supposedly the most photographed clock in the world, but I'd assume kind of Elizabeth Tower or Big Ben was that. But we also get a few artists painting, and there we go, there's cathedral bells. And local artists. So cool. This artist is quite cool. We've bought a few things from him before. He does pictures of Chester, but with kind of got two characters on. So we've got a few at home where we've got the Eastgate Clock and Daleks, similar to that one. Yeah, all original pieces that he painted. You can just see in the distance the Eastgate Clock, which isn't that old, I suppose. So it's quite old.
Victoria?
1897, so yeah, Victorian Darcy Royal.
Is that why it says VR?
VR, Victoria Royal. There's the Eastgate Clock itself. So there's actually a clock face on each side of the Eastgate Clock. And then obviously, as you move around, you've got the main street in Chester, Eastgate Street. A lot of older buildings. There's some bits of the walls in Chester where you can't actually walk around, either because they're doing kind of building work or because the walls don't really exist anymore where they originally were. This is kind of one of the bits where they're doing some building work. Lovely medieval hoarding.
Well, they're still the most complete medieval Roman walls in the UK.
Yeah. We've been to York a few times because we love York, and they've got medieval walls as well. Also dotted around the walls at various points, you do have these donation points where you can donate to the Cheshire Historic Buildings Preservation Trust for the upkeep of the walls. As we head further on the walls, we get to probably one of the most interesting bits of the walls maybe, because off to the left you have the Roman amphitheatre. Half a Roman amphitheatre. Effectively, that building you can see in the distance was built on top of the other half of the amphitheatre. And there's been talk over the years about them knocking the building down and seeing how much is still under it, but I don't think there'll be much there because it's a Victorian building. They tended not to care too much when they built buildings, kind of destroyed everything in the path. But yeah, in the distance there you can see the Roman amphitheatre. And off to the right, you've got one of the more modern kind of towers. Top of the Newgate Tower. Kind of like a little mini bridge, and then again you can see the amphitheatre in the distance. A number of years ago they kind of did some work on the amphitheatre and they put some new stonework on top, effectively in the same layout as the actual original amphitheatre underneath it, so they could leave the original one below it without damaging it. But you can still see some of the original walls just around the perimeter of the amphitheatre, and that grass bank in the distance is kind of where the seating used to be. It used to be wooden based seating on top of a stone structure. Down the bottom of the Roman garden. In the garden you've got one of the original Roman central heating systems, which has kind of been rebuilt to show you how they worked, which I think is called a hypercourse, I don't know how you pronounce it. But effectively there used to be hot air that moved under the floors, which effectively is like underfloor heating, but Roman style. And then you've got a load of pillars in the garden that were unearthed from various bits of Chester, which were from the old Roman buildings that used to be situated in Chester. This is actually one of my favourite bits of Chester, just off to the right by the Roman Gardens. because you've got some absolutely stunning little houses down here. They're kind of old school terraced houses, but yeah. Also, note, don't be very tall when you live in them, because you're going to bang your head all the time. As we continue down this section of walls, we head down towards the River Dee and the Grooves, as it's known in Chester, which effectively is somewhere you can sit next to the river, watch the day go by, have an ice cream, have a boat ride. It's an awesome little place. And then just at the bottom there's a restaurant as well, which is Hickory Smokehouse, which we've been to a few times, which is quite nice.
In there.
Yeah, Darcy likes Hickory's because they've got a little movie theatre for the kids, so when you're waiting for your food you can go and sit and watch a film. Free popcorn. Yeah, it's awesome. There's a lot of houses on this bit of the walk around the walls, which are kind of Georgian buildings. Stunning buildings. In the distance you can see the suspension bridge and the Grooves in Chester, and then as you come well across you can see the weir, and then the bridge going across to Hanbridge, which is the little kind of village that's on the other side of Chester, which has got an awesome beer shop, Chester Beer and Wine. If you're ever visiting Chester, make sure to make a trip. So, where do we start, Larry?
Started here, we've gone this way around, now we're about here.
Down by the river. That's everything that's in this area. So you've got Eggersfield Park, the old Dee Bridge, Grosvenor Museum, Military Museum. The Grosvenor Museum's a free museum. It has a lot of Roman history in it, and a couple of interactive things for the kids as well. This building here, just situated right next to the old Dee Bridge, is actually a old hydroelectric power station, which I think is Victorian hydroelectric power station, which is no longer in use, I don't think. So this bit of Chester is a bit where there's actually no walls, so we just left the walls behind us. And obviously the walls are here under our feet somewhere, but there's no visible walls. It's part of Chester University. Interesting fact, a certain member of Coasting with the Joneses used to work there. Me used to be part of Chester Council. I used to work there a long time ago. It's now the University of Chester. And we're still by the side of the old council offices / university, where we rejoined the walls. You can see in the distance, the walls are there. Castle Drive. Answers on a postcard if you can work out why it's called Castle Drive, or will be revealed imminently. This is actually part of the Chester Law Courts, with these doors here being some of the doors where they used to take the accused into the building. The Little Rudy car park. If you're travelling by a camper van, this car park allows you to pay for an overnight stay. And it's got, I believe it's got a little cafe and toilet as well, so useful to know. And in the background over there is the Grosvenor Bridge, which is one of the main road bridges into Chester. And the answer to my previous question, Chester Castle. There's actually a castle in Chester as well. It's kind of part of the same complex as the law courts and the university. Background, we've got the racecourse to the left. We've got a sign showing you where everything is. We've got the river and the groves where we've just come from. City centre, the amphitheatre, Roman Park. It's another fairly modern but quite cool building in Chester. It's the Abode Hotel, and I think there's flats and offices in there as well, but it's designed to look like an amphitheatre of old. Quite cool. So just looking out towards the centre of the racecourse, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a stone cross that's situated kind of on the land in the middle. All this area used to be under sea, so all this here was kind of part of the estuary of the River Dee. So this section of the walls here, those bigger stones on the bottom are the old Roman walls, and these are the original docks, so all the boats used to be moored up against these walls where they used to decant their wares that they pillaged. Britain's oldest racecourse. I didn't actually know that until I just saw that sign. I've lived around here for, I got tired now, many years. What I said before about this used to be kind of part of the sea. It's got a cool picture there showing the old docks, and off to the right there is the old walls which we just recorded. And further around there's another picture which is one of my favourite bits of the walls, where it shows all the boats docked, all the old ships. Dotted around the walls kind of by the racecourse, these little indents here, which I believe were kind of to be able to get on and off the boats. I presume these to be ladders or something on the other side to get onto the boats. There's the main stand at Chester Racecourse, with all the other ones, concourse off to the left. A lot of these stands are quite old as well, so I think they date back to Victorian times, the metal ones. Watergate Bridge. We've got the entrance to the racecourse, and then behind us is Watergate Street, which leads up to the centre of Chester. So we're just walking between Watergate and, I don't know if this is pronounced right, Bone Walled Thorn Tower. And also down this way is Water Tower, which is another tower that's part of the walls. And just off to the left here is a fairly famous school in Chester. It's an all-girls school, the Queen's School. And the actual school is just on the right here, and it literally looks like something out of Harry Potter. I shall show you shortly. There's the entrance to the Queen's School, or one of the entrances to the Queen's School. Really gorgeous building, that one. And this building here is the old hospital, which I believe is now flats. many bits of Chester where all three modes of transport can be seen together. So the road, the canal and the railway. This is Pemberton's Parlour. Quite a cool little alcove. It's got a plaque at the top, Goblin Tower, rebuilt 1994. But it's called Pemberton's Parlour. Is it roomy? That's quite cool. This is rebuilt more recently, so it's probably not got the stonemason's marks. A lot of the buildings which are built out of stone, they have a stonemason's mark. So it's like a unique symbol or letter for the stonemason that actually carved the stones. Tend to see them in old castles and old buildings. A little bit of a detour away from the walls for a second. Just take you down to see the locks. So I think there's a boat actually going through the locks. There's the barge actually going through the locks. Opening the water gate at the end to let the water in, which will cause the boat to rise up. There's actually two boats in there. Fit two boats. You see that there? So that lady's letting the water in and the boats are rising up. And when the boats get to the top, those gates open all the way and the boat can sail out the top. It's quite cool, isn't it? I think where Laura is, you can get quite a good view of the locks from the other side. I believe there's 3 staircase locks. So obviously this one, there's one further down and then there's one right down the bottom. Must take an age to get up there. This house behind us behind the boats, that's the lockkeeper's cottage. That man with the blue top on there, he's the lockkeeper. So every time a boat comes up, if anybody needs help, he comes and helps them. The one that's by the gate. There you go, Das. So the gates. So the lady will push the button thing now and the man will help and the gates open. And then the boats can go through. Yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it? And then when the boat goes back the other way, it's the opposite. So they let the boat into the hole, then they open those gates at the end there, where the dog is. And the water goes back out and drops the boat down. Quite cool, isn't it? It's one of the other towers. Proper old school door on that. We've also got some gorgeous little back gardens dotted around on there, right next to the canal. So, we've just done our walk around the Chester walls, filmed a few little bits to show you. We're now going to go into the middle of Chester, do a bit of shopping, and maybe take a few videos of a few clips of the stuff in Chester. So this weird little bridge that goes just over the canal is called the Bridge of Sighs. And it's where people used to go to the chapel on the round side to have their last rites read before they got executed. That's why it's called the Bridge of Sighs, because you sigh when you went over it. This is like old school pub alley, proper old school pubs. Hyde Bull is also quite an old pub. Quite a cool building, this one. It stands proud and it's got these massive columns to the left. Proper old school. just by here, you've got the Story House Theatre, which had a massive regeneration a couple of years ago, and it's now kind of like a cultural centre where they've got theatre, cinema, and they kind of do shows and stuff like that. I think there's a library in the bottom of it as well, isn't there, Darcy? I think the late Queen Elizabeth came here. She went to the Story House and the last time she came to Chester, didn't she? It's one of the newer restaurants in Chester. Well, it's a new market. They've redone the market and it's basically like a massive food court now with all cool stalls. This is the coach works, where they used to make coaches back in the day, horse-drawn carriages. They used to make cars as well, early cars. Westminster Coach Motor Car Works. And then to the left of that, you've got the town hall. We've just taken another little detour just into Abbey Square, which is a square that's located right next to the cathedral. It's really pretty. It's got a bit of a grassy area in the middle, but all around the outside are old Georgian houses. Interesting fact, there was a Netflix series called The Irregulars, which was filmed here. So it's turned into a film set. Obviously, it's set in Sherlock Holmes times, so there wasn't any cars here. There was horses and carriages. It's quite cool to see though when they're filming it. This is the old medieval gateway into what is now Abbey Square. Vaulted ceilings. Do you just want to know what's behind those doors? It's Chester Town Hall. This tends to be when they have events on in Chester. It tends to be the epicentre of the event. Situated in the bottom left of the town hall is a visitor centre, which we're just going to go into, show you around quickly. Cool pillars, the Eastgate clock. Chester Bear. There's a view to the cathedral in the distance. Yeah, from the visitor centre there and a couple of other different places in Chester, they do Roman walking tours where you get your own Roman and you walk around Chester and they show you the sights and the sounds. So just walking down the main street, Darcy's just in a bit of shopping ready for the new school term. Pencil cases and pens and whatnot. And we just happened to notice that there's a weird creature walking down the road.
Fajny? Nie bój się, patrz jak dzieci się pytają. Fajny?
Didn't realise dinosaurs understood left and right. Oh, and us. So this is the Cross in Chester, which is kind of where a lot of the kind of street artists congregate to do little shows. And the cross is the old medieval cross that's not really a cross anymore, but it's that stone pole in the middle. Dates back to medieval times. And behind us, again, you've got the Eastgate clock. And all the cool wooden buildings.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And Chester's also famous for its medieval rows, which are like two-tiered shops. There's a lot of independent shops in Chester dotted around on the rows. Quite cool. If we get a chance, we'll walk up the road on the rows to show you what it looks like. But so we're just walking up to the rows, medieval rows. Lots of different shops along here. And it basically goes the entire length of the main street in Chester and out a lot of the side streets. All different floors from various years, different shops. Chestnut Grosvenor Hotel. Got a posh hotel. It's got a wine cellar. Is it a wine cellar that actually goes underneath the road? And then you've got the Eastgate clock. One of the most photographed clocks in the world. So that's where we were walking before when we were on the walls, and now we're under the clock. There appears to be a dinosaur in next.
It's going to knock over the mannequin in a sec.
It is about to knock over the mannequin, yeah.
It's creepers.
That's something you don't see every day.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, this way.
There's a ton of little mini dinosaurs.
Darcy, duck, duck. Jesus.
Dave, turn over there.
You've been watching Coasting with the Joneses. Please like, share, subscribe, and most of all, stay awesome.